Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Today we're gonna, change the tone a little bit and be a little serious. Get a little bit more serious about, reparations and the war on foundational Black Americans. First off, I want to say again a good evening to y'all. I see. I'd like to welcome Chris, Maroc, Tyrone, Shanice, New Black, Angry FBA, Concern, MF Original, Lex. What it is, Willa, Housing. What up, boy? Winter Soldier, Tiffany, Still Betting, Stones, Devin Nicole Goddess, Alpha Male. What it do?
And everybody, please share our space. We
Oh
want
yes.
everyone to have a chance to experience what we are experiencing tonight.
Oh yeah, yeah, and get your pen and paper out, because we got something to talk about. I see you, Seventh Ward, um, and anybody else I left out. Good evening. Share out the space. So today our topic is what would America be without FBA? Well, I'll just give you a quick answer on that. America would be territory of Britain. We would be like kind of like Australia. We'd be a commonwealth of Her Majesty the Queen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know first and foremost that foundational Black Americans created the United States of America literally. How? Well, if you go back to the 1600s, during the operation of the 13 colonies under the auspices of England, the 13 colonies were managed by noble class, the elites of Britain. People don't realize that Benjamin Franklin was an elite. Thomas Jefferson was an elite. Um, Alexander Hamilton, who was Black, was an elite. Yep, Blacks were in the elite. He was mulatto class, but still considered Black. Had a Black mother. Well, these 13 elites were sent to manage the colonies on behalf of England. And the person who rewrote the Holy Bible, King James, reading, it all goes back to Christophe Colon, or y'all know him as Christopher Columbus, sending a diary full of lies. All the problems in America are based upon lies. The lies was there's plenty of gold over here. Never was. When Columbus got called out, he made a deal with the Spanish autocracy and traded them for slaves. Um, Howard Zinn writes about this ad nauseum. Well, anyway, when Columbus was gone, his diary was with the monarchy, and his diary identified the quote unquote New World as a place full of free land and free slaves. So Europeans, looking for their chance to be part of the noble class, identified the New World. I gag when I say that a little bit. I vomit a little bit when I say that. Because how the fuck was it new when there are people already here? But I digress. As a place where Europeans could act as noble class. And that's what we're dealing with in 2025. We're dealing with the remnants, the ripple in the pond behind that ideology. Well, now that that's been established, the 13 colonies were managed by what Dr. Howard Zinn calls robber barons, the baron class. Baron is a noble like a duke, lord, lady, the like, also known as esquires. Well, what would become foundational Black Americans was a mix between Aboriginal natives and some African enslaved and native people amalgamated. Well, what would happen is enslaved people rather, we were never slaves. Slaves goes back to Slavic. That's not even our lineage, but I digress. The enslaved would break apart from the colonies and run away until they met with air quote Indian tribes and amalgamate with them. There's an old saying, find an enemy of my enemy, and what have I found? A friend. Well, we would stage counterattacks on the leads of the 13 colonies. And these counterattacks led to Benjamin Franklin writing home to mama and saying these colored people are killing us. They're taking over the colonies. And Benjamin Franklin sent out a memo. The memo was called Join or Die. Y'all know it as the the letter that has a snake. In a moment, I'll put it in the jumbotron. But the join or die um, uh, memo was talking to the leadership class of the 13 colonies that said, "Hey, we need to join together to fight these foundational Black Americans, or we're gonna fucking die." Why don't your history teachers teach you about that? Well, in diametric opposition to us, um, Captain Oglethorpe of England created the Georgia Corporation. The other day, if you look at my picture, I was in State Congress, State House Representatives proposing a bill in Georgia, in downtown Atlanta. And one of my brilliant students was like, "Dr. A, look at that. There's a big picture." Any of y'all who've been in the House of Representatives seen a big, gigantic statue of James Oglethorpe standing in the House of Representatives, and there are paintings all over this. They're celebrating this guy. Well, anyway, this diametric opposition created by James Oglethorpe created immigration as a form of warfare. So what Oglethorpe did was send over criminals from England to create a buffer class. Now, this first wave, as I identify in our new book, was created by using English degenerates, not my words, words of academic canon, English debtors, like the undesirables of England, who wanted again their chance to be esquires, their chance to be nobility, which you couldn't do unless you were related by blood. But they were sent over here to Georgia and deputized. The deal was as follows: you kill these blacks and these Indians, which I argue in my new scholarship are two and the same. Um, You kill them, you can have their land, and we'll give you preferred status. Now, fast forward, that worked. It worked very well. Fast forward 200 years, and when foundational Black Americans start to rise up again with Reconstruction, another group was sent, the Irish. When the Irish got amalgamated into whiteness, another group was sent, Italians, and it repeated. You understand? Where are we? We started to get it back together until the 60s and I'd say the late 60s and early 70s, when a covert wave of immigrants were sent over here that looked like us. They were diasporic, like Shirley Chisholm from the Caribbean, from Africa, and the like, with the same promise. And in 2025, we're looking at the fifth wave, or sixth wave, of immigration vis-a-vis Eastern Indians, Kamala Harris and the like. Well, back to that point, what would America be without FBAs? We wouldn't be America. So I want to get it real clear that the United States of America, vis-a-vis opposition to foundational operation opposition from, excuse me, from foundational Black Americans to the English colony class, was that opposition created the United States of America. So I'm going to say firmly, based upon scholarship, that without foundational Black Americans, America would not exist. We would be a commonwealth of England. What are your thoughts on that, one?
I want to push back just a little bit.
Go ahead.
I don't think we would be a Commonwealth of England because it would just be a wasteland.
Very
They were
possible.
over here standing around in an open field waiting for somebody to work, waiting for someone to spin agricultural gold over here. Without all that agricultural gold that we developed through agriculture, okay, without that, there would be no need to have any trains or ports there. What are you going to export? What are you going to take on the trains? There would be no reason to have anything. So they got stuck at the agriculture part. They would have never gone anywhere. The fields would never have been cleared. There would be no agriculture growing. There would be no reason to have a port or a train or be able to trade with anyone to even become a superpower. So without that agricultural goal that everyone tries to play that off like, oh, it's slaves, they didn't do anything. There would be no America without the agriculture. There would be no reason to build any cities for people to live in it, to work with agriculture. So It would just be an open field. You know, if you really look at the world, we have places where a lot of people gather together. Okay, but there's a lot of empty space on this planet. Tons and tons and tons. Way more empty space and, of course, more ocean than populated areas. This could just simply be another one of those sparsely populated areas. I mean, they had a pretty decent populations in um, like Mexico and South America. They had, you know, different civilizations. But up here, they seem to have more of a spattering of houses and different types of Native American dwellings, more than cities or anything that we would consider built up. However, it could be buried. I don't know whether we have pyramids up here. I mean, I think we have pyramids everywhere. So I'm leaning toward the fact
Facts.
that we may have some pretty developed pyramids up here as well. I don't know, but we have them in Mexico
Graham
and we
Hancock.
got them all over the place. So why wouldn't we have them here? But as far as it being a white founded area, I don't think it would have happened unless that agricultural gold got spun. And then from then on, it was using us to uh, build the railroad, using us to build the foundational cities, using. So every step of the way, even using us to create excitement in America through entertainment and sports. Everything about America is something that we did. And these immigrants that came over at Ellis Island, they came to already built cities. They didn't come to an open field and stand around and looking like, what are we going to do? None of those people would have come here. They don't want to. Who wants to immigrate to an open field? Nobody. So
Right.
it wouldn't, I don't believe this area would exist. It would just be a vast wasteland until they could have made people do work that they should have been, that they should have done, that they're too lazy to do, that they've never done. They already came from places that were developed and Romanized and redeveloped over and over and over and over again. In fact, Europeans came to every place that they came from the Caspian steppe was already built up. It already had an established culture that they intruded into. So they, as far as I know, they have never built up anything from scratch. They've always gone over to somewhere else where people had already had established civilizations and just horned in on their stuff, or either just outright did what the Romans did, which is just Romanize their stuff and expand on them and invade them and do conquests on their lands. So that's what they're about. They don't do anything from scratch.
Right, right. What Wani said is absolutely correct. The dominant society has a long history of taking over all systems that already are existent and and colonizing them and erasing the original designers and architects, both intellectually and literally, and putting their face upon it. Credo Muchwa talked about that in Africa. He said they would come to Africa and see a perfect rock, a beautiful rock or a beautiful design, and paint a white likeness of the Virgin Mary on it to imply that Europeans created it. A little unrelated note today in my ancient world history lecture, we were looking at a what was the lady's name, Wani? Seti. That junk was interesting. We watched that today, and
Wow.
it blew my mind is blown. That's gonna be a space. But anyway, long story short, in ancient Egypt, they start erasing. The Europeans went there and start erasing the picture of Isis, the stones, chiseling away the face of Isis and the face of the Memphite theology, and putting a Christian cross on it to try to imply that they created the pyramids. It didn't work out, but that was the original intention. So what Wani said is correct. Now, with respect to the pyramid comment, Graham Hancock identifies that America is ancient. It's just hidden because during the younger Dryas, the last ice age, Graham said some wild shit that I believe. He said that there was a great civilization in what is now the United States of America of pyramids and already developed um, buildings and architecture, but it was destroyed because America, what is now America, was under a mile of ice. Now, this is what Graham says is very interesting. Now, what I just said about America being under a mile of ice is true. If you need evidence of it, type in Finger Lakes of what is now upstate New York in that area. There were glaciers so tall in America that when they melted, they carved. It looked like God took his hand and scratched some fingers, and in Ithaca, New York, and that area. Well, that mile high sheet of ice that was on top of America was heavy as hell. So, what would that mile high sheet of ice do to any buildings that were here? It would pulverize them. Now, Graham said when the world heated back up and that ice turned to water and washed back into Atlantic, it washed away any remnants of that land base. So America was inhabited. But that's all. I digress.
7.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Because I
I can hear
think
you.
the professor, like, he must have muted himself.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah, I accidentally hit the mute button. Yeah, but yeah, Graham identified that it was already inhabited, like Wani said. That's what I was closing on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, when I was younger, my father had a side hobby of wanting to prove that people that look like us were on 6 continents at least, maybe not Antarctica that we know of, but it could be. And by the time I grew up and I took over the mantle, they had already proven that fact through DNA, even though they want to be stubborn about it over here. But yeah, people that look like us will just say we're on these 2 continents over here. But the next hurdle is to prove that we had these older ancient civilizations, and we've proven this almost everywhere except for North America again. North America seems to be very elusive in proving uh, some of the things that we know are going on. Yes, there's definitely an ancient city here. I mean, things are get very, very buried over. We just underestimate the fact that they feel that maybe 60 or more percent of Egypt has not even been uncovered yet. So there could be
Facts.
more pyramids that we don't know about. The earth changes are very, very dramatic and they can cover up some amazing things. And there were prior civilizations. We know that with the discovery of Göbekli Tepe and others like that. So just wait and see. Maybe we'll see.
And Wani, academic canon of archaeology and is what anthropology. Do y'all know have they passed laws? Laws have been passed on Gobekli Tepe to block or injunct the what do you call it, excavation of Gobekli Tepe because Gobekli Tepe challenged with hard evidence. It challenges the notion that certain it challenges the current academic knowledge or understanding of who was first and who were the first architects. And Gobekli Tepe is very old. I just thought it was really interesting that archaeology departments in Western academic canon has said stop digging because y'all are going to dig something that's going to prove us wrong. I thought it was about
Mhm.
exploration. In truth, it's not. It's about psychological warfare and lies.
They have a narrative and they've written massive amounts of books on these narratives. Like, people embrace Darwin and are not going to want to undo their work. They already found other Teplis, by the way. There's another one, I can't pronounce it because I can barely pronounce Gobekli Tepe, but there's another Tepe nearby that looks just like that one.
It's one of them teppies. Yeah, that's a hard word. But back to the point at hand. I wanted to identify something first in the jumbotron. What y'all looking at? You see a foundational Black American woman who is unsung. Nobody knows about Congresswoman Cynthia McKinley. McKinley was responsible for in Congress executing uh, discoveries into COINTELPRO. So a lot of we know about COINTELPRO came from uh, Cynthia McKinley. Cynthia McKinley passed a bill to find out what was going on with Biggie and Tupac, and I just wanted to kind of give her flowers while she's still living, because she really stood for the lineage. She stood up for us, and nobody talks about her. 7-4, what's on your mind?
Oh yeah, I know Cynthia McKinney. She's a beautiful lady, a congressman from Georgia. They tried to throw her out of I wait, I believe they did throw her out
Oh,
of
okay.
Congress.
I know they tried. I didn't know if they were successful.
Yeah, like I don't like yeah, she's not in Congress anymore, so I can only connect the dots and say yeah, she's been thrown out. Yeah, like that's yeah, like yeah, she was on the real. Like but you were talking about like the ancient Egyptians and all that there. What I know is that uh so look, the Egyptians were smart people. They knew how to build ships, and and I believe like they made it over here to the new world. And there is like they never probably documented it because we don't know how the pyramids were built. They never documented that either. But the Egyptians were some smart people, and they did toxicology tests on mummies. And on the mummies, they found traces of nicotine and coca,
Right.
and like those are new world plants. There are no plants outside of the Western Hemisphere that have traceable amounts of nicotine. And the coca plant, which we all know makes cocaine, which all right, if you do cocaine, all right, that's cool. But like so they must have built ships to make it over here. And so when they did those toxicology tests on the mummies, they uh they tried to say, well, it was because of some extinct plant in the New World. Okay, all right, okay, that's a tap out. You know we right. So uh so so if the ancient Egyptians knew about here, and the beauty of this land, they probably came over here and they saw that what the like, and they probably built up this land, and civilizations drift, they drift on and exchange hands. And when the Europeans got over here and they started to usurp what was already built, and we're dealing with that today with the buffer classes and all of that stuff. So I yield the mic.
So, did somebody hack your account?
No, like this has always been me. I mean, like if you got to have I know like I'm hostile to conspiracy theories, but if you're going to support something like that, you had better be ready to defend it.
Well, I'm gonna say that they started out with papyrus rafts, reed rafts, and they ended up building a Khufu ship. It's called
Well, that's where we get the
KHU.
etymology of the word paper. Paper comes from papyrus. I give you
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. So they had seaworthy ships for sure. That can't be denied. Most of the ships were geared to being on the Nile, but they did have this elaborate ship. And there is some evidence that they may have even gotten to Australia, although people don't want to go there. There is definitely within the Australian people's um, history, they say that people came from Egypt and one of them died and the other one continued to live with them and exchange knowledge.
May I
So,
interrupt?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like okay, so the Egyptians they were on the Mediterranean Sea, and the Mediterranean, like I was surprised to learn this going through it. The Mediterranean can give you some rough seas, and if you're going to survive the Mediterranean, you have got to make you some damn good ships. I went through the Mediterranean going through some, like I've been through the transatlantic, I've been through the Pacific, I've been through the Baltic, but my roughest seas in my Navy days was through the Mediterranean. So
What?
yeah,
Wow.
That's
no bullshit. Like
crazy.
I met the
I didn't know
roughest sea.
that.
Yeah, like I was traversing the Atlantic on my way to Crete on that island if with Greece. And the worst seas I've been through, I'm not joking, was on my way to Crete in the Mediterranean. I mean
No.
that's and so the Egyptians, if they were going to make some ships that were going to go through the Straits of Gibraltar to the New World, I admit those people they must have known something.
I get it. 7-4, you're science based and your evidence, and I appreciate that's one of my reasons I appreciate you on our space is to kind of balance things out. But I wanted to give y'all a piece of evidence to prove what you and Wani just said. This is gonna blow your mind. It's in a book that everybody in this room should buy called Fingerprints of the Gods from Graham Hancock. Long story short, Graham Hancock, who is a Caucasian British guy, when he was younger, and I think it was in the early 90s, bribed him and his wife went to the Great Pyramids of Giza and bribed a guard at night and climbed to the top, which is very deadly. You lose your step, you're done, and he snuck inside of a chamber that's not advertised. Maybe Wani could tell us a little bit more. I haven't been to the Great Pyramids of Giza yet, but apparently there are areas you can't go. And Graham snuck in, bribed a guard with an AK-47 with some money, and snuck in with a camera and took a picture of something nobody in here has seen. He took a picture of a ship that's docked in an area in the back, an ancient ship, 7,000, 8,000 years old, who knows? And the ship looks just like the ship that the Vikings used to use. It's there. I got a picture of it. Later on, I'll put in the Jumbotron. I got to search for it. I put in the Jumbotron before, but my point to bring that up is a lot, like we established, a lot of information is suppressed by academic canon, which is why I, who was basically a Boy Scout, a drone for Western academic canon, has lost faith in it because it's so much evidence pointing to facts that Europeans were not the first technological um, group of people. That I'm wondering, why are you lying about it? Why do you need to lie for? I've lost faith in Western academic canon.
No, like the ancient Egyptians, they knew about here. I can give you a example of how they did it.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, so let's take this in a position of trial and error. So like they must have been sailing, and let's say so they say we're gonna take enough supplies for 2 weeks. We'll go out and if we don't see anything in 1 week, we'll come back. So then they say, so okay, so we'll take enough supplies for 4 weeks, which is a month, and we'll go out for 2 weeks. If we don't see nothing, we'll come back in 2 weeks. So then they say, okay, we're going to take enough supplies for 2 months. We'll go out for a month. If we don't see anything, we'll turn back. And if the seas are right, the winds are right, if you go out for a month from the horn from like the western tip of Africa, if you go out for a month, you will probably reach the new world. And I guess that's what they did. I yield the mic.
Oh yeah, that's
Yep.
very true. So buffer what?
Did,
Oh, go ahead.
oh,
What?
no, I was just gonna say, did Maroc have his hand up?
Oh, I didn't
Because
see it.
I think he did.
Go ahead, Marat.
Oh, y'all can finish if y'all need to.
I
I
was
don't know.
I was just gonna quickly say I put
Yeah, go ahead.
a picture I took with my cell phone of Georgia House of Representatives. We're talking about there is some scholarship that is controversial, but it argues that a lot of our buildings in the main cities in the United States of America were here thousands of years ago, built by the Moors or built by question mark. We don't know. And I kind of filed that in the back of my mind, forgot about it. When I was at Georgia House of Representatives last week, one of my most brilliant students was like, she's like, Professor A, like, why is this? They were looking at the building. It's gigantic. It's beautiful. A lot of the stairs and stuff are carved out of one piece of marble, granite. Um, and they were like, how did they do this? What? And then one of my students was like, wait a minute. Why are these doorways? Why are these doors so big? The doors look like something a giant would use. And they were like, why do we need doors that big? And I stopped and wondered, who really built these Capitol buildings? But on that, go ahead, Marat.
Now we're getting into the giant stories, and and I'll do it in a minute because they found some
The
sunken
Nephilim in the
cities.
Bible.
Well, they found some sunken cities, and they said the steps are not for, human-sized people. Like, what are these steps for? Why do I
And
need?
nobody ever explained
Yeah,
with that.
like why do I need a
Nobody can ever
ladder?
explain that.
We don't need a ladder to go up the steps. I mean,
And what are they doing with the skeletons? Those giant skeletons? Are they being
well, they said they were
hidden
going to,
somewhere?
well, no, they have the skulls at the Smithsonian Institute and they're ginormous. And they will show them to you if you have permission. They have shown them and they line up with the descriptions of what Native Americans said, some redheaded giants that were trying to eat them. And then they sealed them up in that cave. And then when they went to look for bat guano, they discovered all these gigantic skulls, took them over. The Smithsonian kind of tucked them away. But they do show them to you. They just won't put them on display. These fall under categories of things that don't fit in. But remember, tiny people didn't fit in. And then they had to insist that, yeah, there were tiny hominids, and you just have to deal with it. They were little, and they were very, very tiny. And so
Well,
they'll
you know
come.
it's going. They're going to say I'm sorry. They're going to say it's a growth hormone problem.
Well, see, that's
That's what they're
what
going to
they
say.
do when you find one tiny person, then they can always argue that person's, got some kind of mutation or birth defect. But when you
Yeah,
have
but it
an
can be the
entire
other way
cave of them,
around. Like
well,
if you can have a people, if you can have a small people, why can't you have a big people?
you
So
can. I still think somebody hacked your account. You never agreed to big
it's
people
only
before.
rational.
You never agreed to big people before. Who's this new seventh?
Uh-oh.
No, like it's me, but if you start the conversation off from a intellectual standpoint, we can be intellectual.
Okay, that sounds great. I would like your input on these things. We do have giants, but like when I point out, we had Andre the Giant. He's a giant, okay?
Well, he had a pituitary
But he's just
disorder.
one guy. He's not a tribe of big guys. So that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for one person. They need to see there's a
Well,
group.
he has to have children, and someone with a genetic propensity has to have those children too.
They also mentioned double rows of teeth, and that's been seen in humans. They mentioned that these people had 6 fingers, and that's also something that people have. So these giants are running up in our DNA probably as well, because people get born with 6 fingers and different aspects that the Native Americans described on these giants that they say were eating them.
Well, what's very interesting about what you said, Wani, is the mounds. There are mounds all over America. In fact, the oldest black neighborhood in America is in Memphis. It's called Orange Mound. Well, what's starting to happen in the last 20 years, really accelerating in the last 15, is Western academia, the universities are taking over these mounds. And what's Bill Gates, what's it called? Monsanto? Monsanto's taken over some Indian mounds in Mississippi, and the rumor is they're digging up those skeletons and hide, or they're digging up something. I'm not going to say skeleton, but they're digging up something and hiding it. What are they digging up? I don't know. But some people say that those mounds were
LSU has Magnolia Mound
right, right.
What's that? Where is that one?
in Baton Rouge. There is Magnolia Mound
Hmm.
Plantation.
Wow.
Now they attribute some of these mounds to the Mississippians, but then they, when pressed, they'll say they don't really know who made some of these things. So they don't like to say they don't know, but with some of those Inca ruins, they say, "Oh, this is Inca," and then they say, "Oh, that's pre-Inca." Well, who are the pre-Inca people? Oh, we don't
It
know.
could have been Egyptians.
Over in the South America?
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
uh-oh.
deny that the Egyptians
Uh-oh.
could have made their way to
Your account is
America.
your account is hacked again.
No bullshit. Like the Egyptians were smart people. We don't know how they built the pyramids, but when you apply modern engineering techniques,
So
yeah,
you admit that we cannot build those pyramids right now.
no, we could build them, but
Yeah, let's see us do it.
yeah, I mean, if
Just
you got
one.
the
Just
time
one.
and energy and resources, yeah, you can build them. I never deny
What
that.
about those Easter Island heads?
Well,
Um,
yeah, we know how they built them. Yeah, like
well, we never did anything. They don't even have trees to put them on rollers.
they had trees, but they
Sure.
deforested the land. They did they did
So you
soil
say.
analysis on the uh on the land where they
You're
dug
working for
up.
the man. You're working for the man.
Yeah, well, because the man educated me. What you want me to do? Uh, but like no, like if you dig deep in the soil, you can see how the land was once upon a time, and
Okay,
like
I'll
you
be
can see how
curious.
the land was thousands of years ago.
Okay.
And when you dig up, like yeah, they had tree seeds, and they used the tree seeds. I mean, well, trees grew, and when you cut down the trees and you use the logs, yeah, you could use them
Well,
as
since you're
rollers.
in this mood right now, let me ask you this. Since you're in such a good mood and you're cooperative today, answer this one. What do you think about this explorer that went over to Easter Island on Easter Sunday and said he was greeted by a 15-foot tall man, and their name was the Long Ears? And they were a priest class that was doing all this construction, and the short ears were the normal sized people that were at odds with them and kind of feeling intimidated because they were 15 feet tall. Do you believe these white explorers, I believe this man was Dutch, saw this 15-foot tall man, or was he on massive amounts of crack?
If you told me a man was 15 feet tall, you got to show me a body. You got to show me something, because when we look at people who get past 7 feet tall, they have bone structural deficiencies. So I got to see how they did that.
Even if they're from another planet?
You have got to prove to me they're from another planet. Before
So
I
if
start presuming someone is from another planet, you have to prove to me that they are not of planet Earth.
so you're saying human beings like me, if I was 16, 15, 16 feet tall, I'd have massive problems because I'd have to have my whole circulatory system redone. But an alien might be normal for them to be that tall, so they wouldn't have these issues. Correct? So it would probably be an alien if they were running around acting normal at 16, 15, 16 feet tall,
Well,
is
they
what
would
I'm
have
guessing.
to be adapted to the atmospheric pressure of planet Earth, because we are at a atmosphere of 10,000 pascals, and so if they had evolved on this planet to be that tall, uh, yeah, I could see them having some problems. But if they evolved on a planet of different atmospheric conditions, they may
Mhm.
survive for a little while, but over time they would experience health issues.
Got it.
Probably due to our gravitational pull. Now we're getting off topic and getting into. Well,
Yeah, that's
I,
yeah,
I'm
you're absolutely right.
I'm getting off topic, is what I'm saying, and going to Zachariah Stinson. I bought one of his books, but Zachariah says that those giants are the Anunnaki, and the name of the planet, no, it's Nibiru. That's it. He
The
said
Bible says they're the Nephilim.
Nephilim. Yet Zachariah talks about all that. He says they come, basically, just to finish that thought. He says they come from a planet called Nibiru that's on elliptical orbit with Earth. So every 11,000 years or something, it crosses paths with Earth. But long story short, he says the gravity on Nibiru is different. It's less. It makes sense what he said. He said the gravitational pull on Nibiru is less, so you grow bigger, and they're gigantic, and they live longer. So the Nephilim that are, and the Anunnaki, that they're different, who are on Nibiru, their life cycle basically is a lot longer than us. They live like 11,000 years or something. So allegedly, when Nibiru comes by us, the Anunnaki who are on there now were coming here in the days in biblical times. I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about buffer class warfare and give y'all a little scholarship to write down or take notation thereof. And Dr. Howard Zinn's A People's History United States on page 266, right at the bottom, Dr. Howard Zinn says, quote, there were 5.5 million immigrants in the 1880s, 4 million in the 1890s, creating a labor surplus that kept wages down. Stop. So back to immigration warfare in the 1880s, when the Irish came over here and the Italians, their intent was to keep prices of labor down. So that was in direct opposition to Black Americans. Why? Because we were emancipated. I want y'all to see. It's kind of a hard thing to kind of, for me to articulate. But if you look at us being emancipated, we were now allowed to work and make wages. Before, we were what law calls chattel. We were no different. We foundational Black Americans were considered no different than a chair or a table, right? But then we got some rights. I'm not going to say we were freed, but we got some rights. We got rights to earn wages. So what did the system do? The system flooded America with Irish and Italian immigrants, Irish first, to keep wages down. That was an attack on us. That's what we call buffer class warfare. Any questions?
No, just keep on cooking, sir.
Well, Dr. Howard Zinn says after that, quote, the immigrants, listen to this closely, the immigrants were more controllable, more helpless than native workers. They were culturally displaced. Yes. You see it? Do y'all see it now? That foundational Black Americans who were emancipated and were starting to build Black Wall Street, were starting to build neighborhoods that were thriving and flourishing, were um, commingled again with Irish immigrants who were, Dr. Howard Zinn says, starving and angry because the potato famine failed. And they looked at us with jealousy and vitriol. What I'm telling you that I argued in my newest scholarship, that was intentional. They sent them at us to keep us in check. And if you look at pictures during the Great Migration, you'll see, it is hard to see, but it's hard to look at, but you'll look at the lynchings during the Great Migration. You'll see families being lynched. Look at their clothing. They're dressed in suits and ties. The little girls, yes, they lynch little girls. What type of person would do that? They have on church, Sunday's best, church, they're dressed really nice. That's the point. Because as Howard Zinn identified, the Irish immigrants were controllable. They were starving, and they looked at us in our Sunday's best, living well, minding our own damn business, and we became food. That's the attack of buffer class warfare. Go ahead, 7-4.
Yeah, so it's look, immigration has always been used as a in when I say immigration, I mean in the context of United States, it's always been used as a way to destroy us as foundational Black Americans. And uh, I grew up in New Orleans, and I saw it. I mean, like we got New Orleans, we got neighborhoods called the Irish Channel, because like this is where the Irish propagated,
Wow.
and we got places like where the Sicilians propagated. We got, and so after all of that, they started to send the Vietnamese by us in New Orleans East. And when I saw that, that is what radicalized me as a 10-year-old growing up in New Orleans. I saw, why are they owning all of these businesses in our neighborhood? Why I can't go to a Black business and conduct commerce? And that's when I was a child, I saw, okay, let me apply some common sense to this. And that's when I saw they were trying to target us. And that's what made me this radicalized man I am today. And I've been thinking about the solutions. What can we do about this? And the only solution I have that's nonviolent is that we have got to implement a poll tax, a capitation tax. And if you can't prove that you are a person who came after 1960, if let me rephrase this. If you can't prove that you were here before the mass economic conditions today in America, which was the Immigration Act of 1965. If you can't prove that you were here before then, you have to be taxed, onerously taxed. And that is constitutional. And that's how you get these people out of here. Because now in America, we have people coming in here from Latin America, from the Middle East. And I just heard today in Texas, they're trying to build their own Sharia enclave. We've got to stop that. And the way you stop that is with a capitation tax. And so today, as Black America, we have got to get on code. We have got to say, if you are against Black America, you are for genocide. That is the only way how I know we stop this nonsense. Why do we have an inflation problem in America? Because we are bringing in people consuming our resources that we fought for. That is the only way how I know we stop this. We have got to tax them for everything they consume, they pay for from from us. That is the only way I know how we stop this. I don't know what else we need to do because I don't want to do what is the next step. If we have to get rid of these people, I'm not going there. But we have to do something about this. We are in dire straits if we let business continue as usual. With that, I yield the mic.
Oh yeah, I agree, bro. We're gonna disappear if we're not careful. Um, Maroc, you had you were up and your thing went away. What's on your mind?
Yeah, my end was acting weird. Got kicked out somehow. I'm gonna be brief because we've moved on from the conversation since. Um, but I did want to briefly speak on what we're talking about now. Not only are the immigrants in line and used as buffer classes for what you've explained already, Professor. But they are also coming in and using a lot of ethnic nepotism as well, and that is furthering their protection and is keeping and gatekeeping us out of opportunities as well. This ethnic nepotism is something that needs to be acknowledged. Something I'm writing an article on as well, and it's protected um, because it's not really addressing racism. It's an ethnocide, basically, of course. Um, but
100.
but I did want to touch on what Wani said earlier about ancient America. So we did talk a little bit about the giants or whatever. Someone posted actually about settlers of the 1800s. I put it up in the Jumbotron about these giants, actually. They put a whole thread about it. So if you're interested in it, go ahead, look it up, check it out. They even have a very interesting excavation that they did. And one of the masks looks just like us. Um, so besides that, also, um, one thing we would have to do if we were to uncover anything about us and our autochthonous identity over here in America, we would have to get rid of NAGPRA. I'm not saying that's going to be the end all be all, but NAGPRA, they protect and gatekeep a lot of archaeology and remains over here in America. So that needs to be completely extinguished. They operate just like the ancient Egyptian or the Egyptians do over there with Hawass, where he just is the lead and gatekeeps everything about ancient Egypt to the point where he will revise the history and his people's identity and claim. One other thing I wanted to touch on really quickly was that I wanted to pull the veil off of genetics because until this is the thing about genetics and them saying that we're this, that, and the third, we're none of those things. And this is why. Because we cannot be compared to fragments. And what do I mean by that? People in populations have gone through lots of colonization and bottleneck events, especially right here in America, where if that's correct, they say about 90% of the people here were completely eradicated and nullified. These are people that no longer exists and what happens when they go through a bottleneck event and they no longer exist. Their genetics no longer exists. So we cannot be compared to populations that no longer exist because 500 years later or more, the people that are left are nothing but fragments, to the point where even when you look at the Native Americans, I have a study from NCBI. They say that the Native Americans can't even be compared to each other because of the bottleneck event that happened over here in America. We are comparing ourselves to fragments. Native Americans are fragments. They are little left of what's has survived. And so we really can't delve into our origin story until those things in place are completely eradicated. And I land there.
Well, that's the whole point of delineation because what you just said is it supports the amalgamation that turned into foundational Black American. We are a new group. We're fragmented through that bottleneck event of um, what you just spoke of. We turn into a new group. I have a new piece of scholarship that's about to come out, where I argue just basically in geometry, which Seven Ward probably knows about, in proofs, you have A plus B plus C. A, B, and C are two different things, right? So A plus B plus C don't equal A. It don't equal B. It don't equal C. It equals A, B, C. And that's what happened to us. We're Aboriginal. Some of us are mixed with Anzac 1, the
That sounds like the zeroth law of
I knew you would speak in on
thermodynamics.
this, but is it not true, Ward? It's like we're a new group, we're a new element, and we need to be recognized as such.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, shit. I mean, I'm from New. I'm from. I mean, my ancestry is from the river parishes of New Orleans. Like, I got native ancestry. I got European ancestry. I mean, it's not by choice. So yeah, I mean, we are a unique people, and we need to just acknowledge that and move on from there.
And you know what? Based on what Marak just said, that is further proof that we can't be going around saying that we're African because it's so far removed. It sounds like he's saying that we're just so far removed from what people are saying we are. We haven't been that
What
in a long time.
what I
So
mean, like what I mean, what cultural traditions do we share with Africa? Like, I don't know. I really don't know. Like,
Eating arms
we
and
got our own
legs.
food, we got our own music, we got our own dress, we got our own dance, we got our own slang. What do we share with Africa?
we don't share
I am
anything. You're right.
asking this
You mean
question in good
you
faith.
don't eat human legs? Is that what you're saying?
I no,
I
I
got
eat
some at
chicken legs
Publix.
and turkey legs, and I may, on a good day, eat a leg of lamb.
Oh, fancy, huh?
Oh Lord, y'all silly.
Wani is really picking on you today.
I'm cool with it. I like it because like we got a vibe going. So yeah, come on with it, girl.
I want to identify one more thing, and we'll move on to the black. Let's talk about debauchery from my studies, and not just from my studies, from my childhood. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. There were remnants in Birmingham. There still are. If you go to some of the older black neighborhoods, there are remnants of what foundational Black Americans used to be during the '60s. You know, dressing up Sunday's best, walking around with a suit. The old men having on hats, and walking by and tipping their hat. You know, we were a very dignified group of people. We still are. But what I'm trying to say, identify, is where did all this debauchery through Psyoppss, which is in our title, psychological operations, we were commingled with the ideology of prostitution in the 70s with the exploitation film Superfly. We need to recognize psychological warfare when we see it. I forgot who said it. It's not my thoughts. I'm not stealing the thought, but one of our great scholars said that Superfly and what was the thing, Willie Dynamite, and all these shows in the 70s were created as psychological warfare to give Black American women a whole new identity. James Baldwin talks about this at nauseum in A Fire Next Time, which I advise everyone.
Superfly is actually a
Oh, it's
good
bomb as
movie.
hell, but it was a misnomer because we weren't the prostitutes. Check out what Dr. Howard Zinn says on during the fourth wave, the third wave, excuse me. Well, hold on, one, two, third wave of immigration warfare. The Italians came over here. Dr. Howard Zinn says, "quote Women immigrants, he's talking about Italians, became servants, prostitutes, housewives, and factory workers, and sometimes rebels. That was never part of foundational Black American female culture. That the Italians brought, and the Irish to a certain extent, but the Italians, according to Dr. Zen, he insinuates, he infers that the Italians brought widespread prostitution to the United States. I remember my dad. My dad volunteered for the United States Navy. He was naval intelligence during the Vietnam War. He volunteered for that shit. He didn't get drafted. Very proud of him for that. But Dad told me when he got stationed Seventh Ward in Italy, he said the first he was a kid getting off on them boats for R&R.
My dad was stationed in Italy as well.
Right, right. If you want to see the world, join the Navy. If you want to stay in Mississippi, join the Air Force. If you want to
Hey,
go,
you can stay nearby.
What?
They let you stay nearby in the Air Force?
Yeah, every airman I talk to be like,
Oh,
Sinbad made a joke about that. The Sinbad said, you want to see the world join the Navy. Sinbad said, I joined the Air Force and they stationed me in Wichita, Kansas.
that's weird.
It's the chair
Chair for,
force.
yeah. Well, Dad said when he got off the boat, the first thing, his first impression of Italy was somebody trying to sell him some tail. So a woman ran up to him.
That's crazy
Yeah,
because I'm visiting.
go ahead,
There
one.
was a bunch of prostitutes arguing with their pimps, and then that doesn't even count all the African prostitutes hanging out behind the building, jumping out like jack in the boxes. But what's the deal with all the prostitution? I mean, it was like I thought it was a skit. It was so dramatic, fighting with a pimp, and I don't even speak Italian, and I knew she was a prostitute fighting with a pimp. I don't understand all that. What are they doing?
Yeah, it's a cultural. I haven't been to Italy, so I'm not going to be ignorant.
It's a business.
It's a business, but I'm gonna say that from what my father told me, what I've read, and what Wani said, what a lot of people said, it's kind of a norm. And the reason why I'm bringing it up, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody. I'm just saying, according to Dr. Howard Zinn, that's where all your that's where the idea of pimping and prostitution came from Italy. But who gets when you hear the word pimp? What immediately comes in that brain
Because
computer?
we do
Some black.
everything better than them. Our pimps are dressed better, and that's why
Ah,
they got all the attention. It's not their
yeah.
fault that they wore velvet hats.
You saying black pimps dress better than Italian pimps?
Yes.
Wow, that's a stress because I thought the Italians had better
Oh
style
my
than.
God, they have gold chains. That's true. Hold on,
Ah.
let me revise. Nope, we still dress better. Sorry, we have fur coats and the velvet hats was definitely over the top. Yep, the black pimps win.
I revisited, and we coming to you to black, but I revisited Hidden Colors, um, the 1 and 2. I think it was part 2, but there was a scholar on Hidden Colors documentary talking about Maori gators, and he said that the Moors wore gators. So our style goes way back. We've been stylish, and I don't know. We seem to do things just with a little bit more finesse than other groups. It's a je ne sais quoi
Mm-hmm.
all the way.
Je ne sais quoi. Now,
Je ne sais quoi.
let me ask the science leaning people a question. Is bronze tin?
Yes, it is 10. I forget the other
Is
element.
bronze copper?
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. It's tin and copper. Yes,
But
ma'am. You're
those things
absolutely
made
right.
something new, correct?
Preach.
They made an alloy. Yes, ma'am. You're absolutely
And
right.
so now bronze is not tin anymore and it's not copper. It's something new. Is that your
Well, it's a metal alloy, so yeah, I guess it is something new. I mean, I can't argue against
let's
that.
let that sink in a bit.
I see where you're going, Wani. That's brilliant. I wish you would have told me that a couple weeks ago. I would have put that in my scholarship. We're an ally. We're a new group of people. Titanium is an alloy, and guess what? It's one of the strongest metals.
Mm.
No, it
No,
isn't. No, it isn't. Don't go
Oh,
there,
It's
brother.
oh, I thought it
mostly
was.
Don't
copper.
oh,
don't go there.
I thought
titanium.
titanium was
Let me
alloy.
look at
Yeah.
all these up right now and see what. How do you make titanium? Anybody know?
No, I thought it was, or maybe I'm talking about titanium alloy. Maybe science is not my area.
Yeah, titanium alloys, yeah, but titanium is a fundamental element on the periodic
Uh-oh.
table.
What?
Don't
I
go
stand.
there. Don't go
Hey,
there.
I stand correct. My daddy says I stand corrected.
No, like I'm not trying to sound didactic. I'm saying this because I want to protect you from when you say something
And it's
and
wrong. Yeah.
yeah, like I'm saying this because because I don't want you to be hurt. Like I'm trying to protect my people. So don't go around
Oh no,
saying
hey, let me get something straight. I am not above correction and I'm not perfect, but thank you for correcting me. Go ahead, the black.
What's going on, Professor Warren and Nikki?
What's up,
Everybody in the
bro?
space. Uh, are these people buffer classes? I think so. and they're a parasitic buffer class. I'm starting to realize because you know things that we just do regular. We don't think of new people come in and they find a way to monetize it. And once they monetize it, they turn they close us out of the so quote unquote industry that they somehow found it. Even though this is what we do regular, kind of like the gold teeth and the gold chains. Like you can look back to old pictures. Like we always had that. For some reason, it's just part of our culture. But you have outsiders, foreigners that have monetized it to a point where it's okay for everybody to take part in it if you want to sometimes. Because you have white people with grills going viral, and you can equate that to our dances and the things that we say. They are allowed to come here and be the buffer class to monetize whatever we do for the benefit of capitalism for the higher classes. Because it's all about money in America since we are a big corporation. It's all about what you can out uh, outport instead of import, unless you bring it in bodies and more people to be in the middle of keeping us as a somewhat lower class to siphon out of. So yeah, I feel like yeah, it's a buffer class that's always been cool with being a spy slash operative to go against us, unfortunately. And luckily, like we finally starting to figure that out and mind our own business. So April 5th, they're like 2 more days away. I don't want to see none of y'all black folks out here trying to ride and walk hand in hand on some kumbaya shit with some white folks. Talking about we won't stand for this. No. Continue to mind your business, make you support jobs for barbecue, whatever. Just chill out. The new movie with our brother, with the blues coming out on the 18th. You know, y'all can do plenty other things other than be out here acting a fool, letting these white folks siphon your energy and continue to stab you in the back. So yeah, I will remember. ICE is still doing their thing out here until 2026 or 28, whenever Trump out there, if he don't try to run again. But yeah, I love y'all, man.
We love you too. Is it the missus
Yeah, I
who's
think
next, or was
Mrs.
it
Come on,
Professor
Mrs.
on
Is she
Facebook?
muted?
No, I'm not muted. I'm here. I was go ahead, Mrs.
How you doing? Hi, Professor Wani, Nikki, everybody in the space. I kind of forgot what I was going to say, but I don't know who was talking when they was saying that we should stop these immigrants from like building in the nation or in our cities and stuff like that. I kind of forgot, but I just wanted to
That's me,
agree to that
ma'am.
because it's like, oh, okay, how you doing, Seven? I definitely agree because like seeing these foreign businesses are not adding to the community, nor are they giving back to the community. They're not helping the community to be rebuilt, but yet they want the community's money to sustain their business. So it definitely is a parasitic thing to have. And while we're still in our prime, meaning us Black Americans, we definitely have to get the ball rolling because the next generation will, in my opinion, accept interracial dating, interracial marriage, biracial kids more. Not saying there's nothing even wrong with biracial kids, but I feel like it will probably be a larger number of the next generation that will accept other cultures and race group of people to come into the Black American community and claim ownership or do things that we do or accept what they're doing more. So I definitely do feel like it is time um that we put our Black American foot down and definitely make a change because in the next 10 years um if we don't do anything, it's just going to be a free for all at this point. That's how I feel. And thank you again for giving me the time to speak.
Yes, yes, ma'am, you're right.
Yeah, that was
But
correct.
our spirit, yeah, like like the spirit we have in here is our guarantee. I mean, we're special. Like no one else could uh could sustain the abuse we have sustained. So, I mean, you see it, I see it. That's something special. With that, I yield the mic.
Yeah, our dear brother Dick Gregory said that we are the only group in America that's been made pure. As I identified earlier, um, through the six waves of immigration, different groups from the Irish, the Italians, other European groups were mixed in there later on after the Italians. Some people say alongside the Italians came other groups, but I digress. But these groups were sent on a mission. It was a deal. It was a what the lawyers call an implied contract. I don't think keyword think it was written down anywhere, but the implied contract is you keep these Negroes in their place and I'll let you rise. That's evil. And there's some karma to be inherited with that. Dick Gregory said we're the only group that are made pure. We don't have that negative karma just surrounding us. So, it's our time. That's what it is. The other night, a speaker on the panel was saying what this is a last scramble to try to take people down with them of the dominant society and inheriting negative karma. But that does not.
It is white man's last stand.
Oh,
Yeah, like
go
I've
ahead.
known that since I like I have known that since Trump ran for office. When I saw he ran for office, I said, "Yeah, this is white man's last stand." So yeah, that is true.
Saying that little Muslim city you was talking about seven earlier, that's in Garland. Like the white people in Garland are scared. It's hilarious. I look, I don't approve of them being here because like a lot of Muslims they super strict and they do weird shit. But the white people out here are scared. They like, oh my god, they're gonna breach Sharia law. Like it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
like you're right, and if white people want to survive, we are their best bet. Like if they make a
Right.
deal with us, like,
They
hey,
keep
if
asking
you
us
want to
to help.
preserve your inbred recessive genes, you stay
I
over
like preserving
there,
That's why they
culture.
love Charles
and
the White.
I like
That's the
preserving
only reason why
and
they
culture,
like
love
but
we'll
Charles the
stay
White.
over here and do what we doing, and we'll prevent it from getting fucked up. But like you have got to be over there, and we be over here, and whatever else happens, we'll like if you say that like that's happening, we'll be over here and we'll say, okay, yeah, that's happening, and we'll put an end to that shit. Like, will that happen? I don't know. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
like the
Can I
white
go?
race,
Hold
excuse
on,
me?
Mr. Jones. We coming to you. We're gonna let Seven
Oh,
land
okay,
his
okay, yes,
plane,
sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
and then Wani had a comment, and then we'll go to you, Jones. Go ahead and land your plane with Seven.
Yeah, like I said, like like the white race is a collection of the recessive genes, and they want to preserve that, and we're nothing but that. And if we agree to that, like something will uh will come of that. So with that, I yield the mic.
All right, Wani, you had a comment.
I was just gonna say, with this situation, they're trying to say that we should come out and march with them, but that's not all the white people. That's liberal white people and, the septum ring people and this type of thing. So that's not really marching with white people. Testicles jiggling around under silk dresses in the restroom. They want a lot of things that
There is
I
a
don't want.
fatalism.
Yeah, they're in a death
There is a
cult.
fatalism amongst them.
Yes, they are a true death cult. Everything they talk about results in death, or it's a dead end idea. So, no, I'm not going to help you to do that. I'm not interested in what you're talking about. Wouldn't march for that to save my life.
No, like what I am saying is that we got to do what we do, and if they benefit from it, okay, yeah, you benefit, but
Right. As an
but
American, they
you're
might.
over there and I'm over here.
Right.
So
As
that's
an
what it's going to
American,
be.
as Americans, we may benefit from similar things. Like I said before, we were doing our little dances across town and they were doing the same dances, the different hops in the dance
Out of sync.
contests. Yes, out of sync. They were doing those hops in we had parallel lives, but what we did agree on is that I was not going to eat their dog. I was not going to be walking down the street with a leg in my hand eating that either. We might have had differences, but the differences that we're seeing now that are immigrating over here are starkly different, where people are
Mhm.
saying that they have the right to have sex with children, that that's their culture, bachabazi. And yeah, we need to
Let me
import
say something about
primate
that.
meat and all of the things that we get to slaughter animals because of Santeria. They are bringing a lot of things that are not American to this country, and there are things that Black Americans don't do or white Americans. So we can agree on some things, but I still like the separateness because I understand that they are not
Yeah, I
really
respect
able
Can
that.
to.
I
Yeah.
I
jump
mean,
in?
You
yeah,
say you
like,
don't want to pay
look,
10
I
tickets
don't
to
want to be
be
part
on a
of
white dude
white
that do county
America.
fair.
Uh, like, I just give you a basic example. The way I season my chicken is different from the way
Okay.
white people do it. I mean,
They
like
don't
I've
season
gone
it.
to
What
white
I give? What
people's
did I give my
houses.
time? I thought I give my time.
I have eaten their chicken, and I don't want to eat it no more.
Oh,
Like,
Good for
uh,
you.
at least you tried.
yeah, like I ate it, but like I don't
You
want
tough.
to
I was like,
eat their rice because my rice got flavor, it's got gravy,
allegedly.
it's like I don't want to be part of white people, but like I understand we got common traditions.
Mhm.
Like I want to see my people prosper. You want to see your people prosper.
Oh, there we
Okay,
go.
you go prosper over there. I go prosper over here,
Right.
and leave it at that.
A healthy distance, I think, is safe for both.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Mr. Jones, what were you saying?
All right. First and foremost, I love being in this space. You guys are wonderful, and you, whether you don't know this, but you sound exactly like my auntie. My auntie she lies about her age, but she's about 80. But she's young and she's sprung and she drives like she's a fine woman. She sounds exactly like you, and I
She has
played
a raspy voice.
Okay, you feeling
just
love?
like yours. And I screen captured one of your voice, and she was like, "Yeah, God." She was like, "Yeah, that does sound like me." I'm like, "Yeah, that yeah." She lives in Georgia, but yeah, she was like, "Yeah, that is me." But the whole thing is, this is the cool part about it. I try, because she's like I said, she's like she lies about age. So I don't know. She's like between 75 and 81 because she lies. She lies. You know what I mean?
Was she
But
28 for about 40 years like I was?
so I don't know what you did, but yeah, maybe so. But yeah.
Oh,
So I last week I sent her the ISIS papers and the something what's his name the Negro. I saw the Francis Cress Wilson book, and so she was like, "What is this?" And now her daughter is like 60, and her daughter said in 1985 when she went to college, she had the ISIS papers, and some girl stole it from her dorm room.
really?
So fast forward to 2025, I sent her this package with ISIS papers, and her daughter was like, "Hey, that's that damn book!" Like she had an immediate guttural reaction to it. I was like, "Wow!" And so she was like, "Michael, I'm Michael." She was like, "Michael, this book means something to her." Like it means I want you to read it too. So all that to say, even I mean, mind you, she's still she's on Democratic plantation, so she ain't going nowhere. But yeah, you can kind of get them. You can kind of let them know. Look, you got to spoon feed them a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yep, you're doing good.
So you talking about
So that's all I'm gonna say about that. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the space, and I love you guys.
Oh, much
Thank
love.
you.
I wasn't aware that that Dr. Welsing had a daughter. I wasn't aware of that. But interesting. I learn something every day.
I thought he was talking about his aunt's daughter.
Oh, okay.
No, I was talking about my daughter. No, I was talking about my aunt's daughter.
Yeah, I was about to say
Not Frank.
I didn't know Dr. Welsing had kids. I misunderstood you.
No. My aunt's daughter was in college in the '80s, and somebody stole her ISIS papers. So when she saw it in 2025, she was like, "Wait a minute, this is that book somebody stole from me." It was a visceral reaction to seeing the book that she lost 40 years ago.
Well,
that book still had a major effect on her, is what he's trying to say.
it was one of the most powerful books I ever read. I got it. I got it just off of hearing people talk about it, and I read it. I read it in one sitting, and I couldn't. It was one of those books I couldn't take away. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. It just continuously blew my mind. Like what, huh, what?
And it's way ahead of the curve.
Totally.
Yeah.
And,
It's lovely.
just for context, because I just want to put this out there for the streets. Just for context, the other book I sent to her was The Definition of a Negro. I think that's the name of it. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know that book.
No. I'm sorry. The Miseducation of Negro.
Carter G.
by Carter G.
Woodson.
Woodson.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
I sent both of those books together.
Carter was ahead of his time, and he's not celebrated enough. He sacrificed his love life to try to defeat. Carter G. Woodson's story is actually kind of sad. He sacrificed his love life to try to pull us out the mud, and people don't even know who he is. But it's a beautiful book. It's relevant. And I urge everybody to buy it.
And
I
this is
wish
what I
I
tell
could
my folks.
write
This is what I
like
tell my
you
folks.
do.
Now, and you're a scholar. You're a professor. Okay. This is what I tell my folks. I told my auntie because she the only one that got it. My whole point was and I don't know exactly when the book was created. It's somewhere early 1900s, but it was what he was dealing with as a black person then. But he's also projecting what he thought black people was going to be in the future.
Yep, it's a good book. We're going to go to the misses and then the housing. Go ahead, Mrs.
Yes, I'll be quick. I just wanted to add on to what I think Seventh has said about it's the last dance for the white man. And it just confuses me because it's like they see this large influx of immigrants that's not necessarily the top of their status in their own culture, but they're coming here bringing like the degeneracy and like the child molestation, raping, eating people, eating animals. It's like, why aren't white people acting like white people and coming together and trying to get them out? Like, why aren't
That is
they
their culture, ma'am.
banding like how they banded together for us and did things to us? How come they're not doing the same thing to these people?
Well, I can answer that. And the answer to that is very fascinating. As we've established in other spaces, the word white was created in diametric opposition to black. I think our sister Wani talks about that ad nauseum. But these different groups that came over here, like I just read about the Irish and Italian, were Irish. They were Italian. But when they came over here to get an identifier to pit themselves against us, they came up with the word white. So how does that fit into what Mrs. was saying? Mrs., it fits into what you were saying because what's happening now is guess what we've done? It's all about us. We have said, you know what? We're not playing the game. What I'm trying to say is in a hierarchy, you can't have rich without poor. It's all a narrative. That's all it is. And when we stepped out the narrative and said, nope, we're not even involved in this. The hierarchy rearranged, and basically by us stepping out of that narrative, we in essence separated that term white back into subgroups, and we've shed light on the fact that they're not really as unified as we think they are. They're unified against us, and we've stepped out the game, and now division has fell back on them. Good point, Mrs.
People, if you haven't shared this space out yet, can you please share the space out so more people can watch us live? I get so many people on YouTube saying that they didn't know that we were live. So if everyone can please share the space. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Nikki. Housing, what's going on, my brother?
Hey, how you doing, Professor? Wanda,
Yes, sir.
Hey.
Nicky the God, everybody to the in the room. I'm just gonna bounce around real quick. First of all, I want to touch on when y'all was mentioning about how Egypt, ancient Egypt, had their footprint in America. I believe that wholeheartedly because if you notice, right, this is the only continent. I mean, this is the only part of the world, right, where when they do dig, it's very arcane. They don't let no one know about what they're doing. And they won't allow just anybody to dig. And they said when you dig, they said the more you dig, what comes up? Black people.
Housing, let me interrupt you right quick because you're hitting on something. I just published, me and one of our colleagues just published another book that talks about that identity that y'all are going to really love. And I in research, I learned exactly what you just said. Ladies and gentlemen, before you dig, like Housing said, you got to get a fucking permit. Did y'all know that? And it's I forget the government agency, but the permit is slightly
NAGPRA,
what?
NAGPRA,
That sounds right. What's that acronym stand for?
the Native American Burial Ground.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds right. I forgot the acronym, but that sounds right. I feel like it began with the N. But the point is, you have to get a government permit to dig, and it has so many stipulations. It's almost from when I read the statute, it seemed like they don't want you to dig. They make it real complicated, and I can only beg the question: why don't you want me to dig for stuff? What are you afraid that I'm gonna find? But go ahead and land your plane, Housing.
Oh, and hold on. Anyway, and we're gonna move back to when we was talking about the Germans, the Germanics, and the technology that they had access to. We're going to talk about the fact is that they connected to the Vatican, you know, and they slipped bits and pieces of technology to these guys because, you know, probably passed them a couple of boys in a room. You know how they get down. And when it comes to, the buffer groups, they are parasites. They come over here. They have no manners. They don't know how to say excuse me. They just do things that's not American. And it's getting worse. And also, they also putting these people in these positions just like hold on, I'm stuck for words. Like in the slave quarters, they put these people in positions to keep an eye on black people. They put them in supervisors. They put them as managers, CEOs, and all of them are either Caribbean, African, or Hispanic. And their only job is just to like harass us on a regular basis. It's getting real worse. So yeah, we gotta delineate. We gotta separate ourselves. And like the black said, we don't want to see nobody out there marching. And I want to touch on one more thing, and I'll land my plane. You notice how
Take your
they
time, brother.
you notice how they chased the preacher out of what is it, Kenyan, when he was explaining to them that Jesus was black. They was literally throwing rocks at him. It's posted. I posted it, and also, every all the Democrats, the radio stations are praising Cory Booker because he said he stood on his toes for 25 hours. But if anybody know that he did it at night and no one was had anything going on, so he's just basically by himself, and he does nothing for Black America. It's either LBGQ, the immigrants, and so forth and so on. And secondly, you have these immigrants that's in office, literally in office, and they work against Black Americans. Y'all mentioned that how we going to be able to take care of ourselves and watch our back at the same time. It's rough, but we done been through the fire, and we came out shine like diamonds. So it's just another test to keep it moving. That's what we got to do. We got to keep it moving. And I'll land my plane.
Oh yeah. We're gonna go to Heat Meister and then Capone.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I hear you.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. A minute ago, Dr. Allen said something about how black people stepped out of some. Like, can you expound on that? How he stepped out of a particular paradigm or something that messed up everything? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Wait, who said it?
Dr. Allen.
Okay.
Is it Professor Allen or
Yeah,
Dr. Allen?
well, you just call me. It doesn't matter. I don't trip on titles, but my official title is professor. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
That's all. Can you explain that a little bit more about black people stepping out of a particular paradigm that messed up everything?
Oh, absolutely. And I need to get a visual, but I'll try to explain it verbally. So, if you think about what I want you to think about is the European power structure. The land is the king, and the king is the land. The king has power over everything. Now, I want to let you know that American law is based off of law in England. So when you first year law student and you're taking contracts, the first pages of that book talks about the king and like what the hell? I'm not in a monarchy, but it's based off of that. So the king under monarchical law, the king is the ultimate rule of the land. So Europeans, when Columbus came over to what is now Haiti, it was called Hispaniola. He uh, established a new hierarchy. I'm not saying Columbus was smart. He was an absolute imbecile, but he basically it's all based upon a lie. It's a house of cards. Columbus said it was gold over there because he had a vision. There was no gold. So he said, "Well, no, 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 I don't have gold for." He owed money to the Spanish monarchy and to the Catholic Church. He promised him gold. There was no gold, so he said, "I don't have gold, but you can have slaves." So what he did was establish the possibility of Europeans who could not be kings and queens. Up under the king and queen, you have nobles. The noble class is dukes, lords, ladies, esquires. You couldn't be that unless you had blood, royal blood. So Europeans came over here to be esquires, to be above somebody. You got it? And
Okay.
in order to be above somebody, you have to have somebody below you. It won't work any other way. Let me prove it to you. Let's say I put $20 million in your account right now, and you quit your job. Um, your $20 million wouldn't mean shit unless you had people at McDonald's or wherever you like to work. I mean, wherever you like to eat and hang out, serving you to make your money have value. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
so black Americans were identified as the peasant class. Peasant is we never been peasants, but that was the plan. And right above peasants, you have serfs. In between them, you have the knights. So the knights protect the king, queen, and the nobility away from us, the peasants and the serfs. So what I'm trying to say is black people, foundational black Americans have always been identified. Always is a strong term. Actually, Native Americans were first identified as a peasant class, but it didn't work out. So they re-identified the peasant class as foundational Black Americans. And what has happened in the last couple of years, actually, is we said, "Fuck this! If you're going to identify me, we tried civil rights, we tried to join you, we tried to play nice, but y'all still want to keep us in that caste. Well, fuck it. I'm stepping outside the caste. I'm no longer Black. I'm foundational Black American. Y'all deal with this shit, and that's disrupting that hierarchy because these people need somebody to be above. So by us stepping out, what I want you to imagine that game. What's that game called? Jenga.
Yeah.
You know where you stack stuff on top. When you take what happened
Hmm.
on Jenga if you take out the bottom part?
The
Everything
whole it
falls
all
down.
falls down, just like
Hell,
yeah, just the
we're
song
living
between
in
Kanye West and Selena. Yeah.
right. We're living in a real life motherfucking Jenga. And foundational Black Americans, we're the first pieces. We're foundational, as our brother Tariq said, literally. So intellectually, we've pulled ourselves out the bottom of the Jenga, and the shit is falling to pieces. So hopefully that explains it to you. But
Yeah.
the beauty of this situation is we're in a position of negotiation with the dominant society because they need. I forgot who said that. Maybe it was Wani or Seventh Ward, but they need us right now. They need us to make a
Yeah.
deal. So where I stand on this is fuck it. Let's make a deal.
I agree.
I might be
That's
wrong.
thank you. That yeah. I think you are correct. Thank you for explaining that to me. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I'll post before the space ends in a little while. I'll post a picture of the hierarchy. It's easier to see when you look at it. Oh, that's where we are. We're gonna get a couple more speakers. I'm gonna do Capone. I don't know how to pronounce it. Asa J. Remy. Go ahead, Capone.
Hey, how you doing, Professor?
What's up,
Roy,
brother?
Sister Nikki, Sister Wani, all right, I'm good, man. Yeah, they wouldn't be nothing without us. Excuse my background noise, I'm on the plantation, but yeah, the world would be nothing without us. That's like eating macaroni and cheese with carrots in it, potato salad with raisins in it. They need us around here. And then my trivia question for Sister Wani I have for her. Sister Wani, you still listening to me?
Yes.
Okay, since you know everything and you highly knowledgeable
I
around
don't
the
know.
atlas, yeah, I just like to call you my little sister Google. That's all. Since you well traveled and know a lot of stuff like the professor. Do you know what genre of music killed the most people?
Which genre of music killed the most people?
Yeah.
Is drum circles a genre?
I wouldn't call it that, but I'll give you the
Okay. Classical
answer.
music then.
Absolutely.
Unmute yourself. You're not muted.
I
Yes,
would say,
classical,
well,
classical. You right, classical. You right.
yes,
Yeah, you're
classical.
absolutely right. Yeah, but that's all I have for you. I love y'all. I
Okay.
appreciate the scholarship. Sister Nikki, Sister Wanda, Professor, love, peace, reparations, delineation, and deportation.
All right. I should thank you, brothers. Always a pleasure. Heat Meister, I put in the Jumbotron that hierarchy. If you look at the top, you see the king, where we were identified, we being foundational Black Americans, is at the bottom, serfs. It combines peasants and serfs, but a serf is somebody, basically, most of us, including myself in this space, we're serfs. We work for a wage. A peasant is somebody begging for bread. A peasant is a scapegoat. That's somebody to punish, that's somebody to abuse. That peasant puts worth on royalty because they have to do what they're told. Another way it's been explained is a peasant is like the dirt that a flower grows out of. You need that dirt or that flower is going to die, but the flower gets all the glory. And what we've done, we've jingled this motherfucker. We stepped outside. We said, just like me, I got, work, played the system, got all, did what I was told, got all these degrees and was a good boy, and I still don't make enough to live. Fuck that. I'm foundational Black American. You deal with it. And the system's collapsing. What was next? I think it
We
was
had one more. Who was the last person that hasn't spoken? Was it Heat Miser?
Heat Miser spoke. I think it was Seventh Ward. It was somebody else. But let's go with Seventh Ward until we figure that out.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah, Professor, you were saying some hot shit. And if if you or Wani or Nikki, if y'all want to like have a private Zoom call to know who I am and what it is I do, we can set that up. But yeah, like these white people, they are in some dire straits, and they don't know it, but we know it because we've been through it. And they came to America to try to build their wealth, and uh they are like my ancestry. Like I don't deny, not yet. Like my I have European ancestry, and they were sold a bill of goods that if they came to America, they would have power and subjugation over my ancestors to build their wealth, and they did. I can't deny that. Like they raped and did horrible things to my ancestors. I will acknowledge that, but I will not ever be proud of the shit they put my ancestors through. And and because of their because of their recessive weakness, they are starting to hit the wall collectively as a race. They are hitting the wall. And what happens from there, I don't know. I don't give a shit. But if they want to survive, they have to come to us and see the errors in their ways, and we have to say, okay, yeah, so we want to get back all the shit you stole from us so we can go do our thing, and you can go over there and practice your uh how should I say, inbreeding, which leads to hemophilia and all the other degradations. Okay, you go over there and have fun, but we're gonna go over here and do our shit, and we're gonna go live it up, and you are going to go pretend you live it up way over there, and we are going to go like be the future, and you can go reminisce.
You know they
We
ain't gonna
have
do
got
that,
to go
Seven.
do all. Excuse me.
I said, you know they don't want to do that, Seven Ward.
Hell no, they
Well,
ain't
they
finna do
don't want to do
that.
that, but they've got no choice. Look
Well,
here,
That's
if
why
it's
they
you want
keep
to
us
be
where
weird.
a
they at.
collection of recessive genes, you have got to go do that.
It's
How
weird
long have we?
because
Oh, go ahead, Sister Wanda. But we've
I
been
was
trying to get
just
away
gonna
from them for a long time.
I was just gonna say they're doing it to themselves. I mean, they're letting all these people in Europe and then complaining, boo-hooing up and down the
Yeah,
timeline.
like they have yet to collective see the error in their ways.
It's
We see it because we're smart.
it's cause
We're we are smart.
it's cause they don't
But
have the the same power as they elders had making people force assimilate. Cause you see they figured out like, hey, we can have some somewhat passing white people to blend in, but
Mhm.
they know they can't fully just mix with us. Cause they
yeah,
figured
like
out it don't breed out.
I don't want to talk about the penny hoarders and their communism. I don't want to go there. But uh but but that ideology has reached the collective in their minds, and it's always been in us because we've been like says, hey, we all we got, we all we need, and we'll go from there. Uh but the penny hoarders threw a monkey wrench in their program, and they been recognizing that, and but now it's like minorities have been talking about it, but now it's it's the writing is on the wall, and they're starting to reject that. So uh, so like if they, I mean, like I've been talking about this in my dialogue, but excuse me, my monologue. So yeah, I mean that's what it's going to be if they want to survive.
Yeah, no cap. Go ahead, the black.
I was just gonna add, when you look at the reason why they implemented the little one drop rule or the racial integrity act, before they thought they plan was if you get a couple of mulattoes to mix with some mixed breed white people, you'll have a white baby, and after a couple of generations, they figured out, hey, you just can't breed out the black so easily. So they gave up on that and just made it. We gonna mix with certain groups of Europeans if they come over here.
Look
And
at Halle Berry. That's an example.
yeah,
She is less than 50% black, right? And she married a white man who is very, very white. Her daughter is still a light skinned black girl.
yeah,
And he was over there having to straighten her
That's
hair.
my auntie.
Yeah. And see? Um, you can see it. It's very hard to get rid of that black. It's not even predictable because you could do a lot and still pull up and have a light skinned black person that's obviously black, like her daughter, like Meghan Markle. Now Meghan Markle looks a certain way now, but if you go look at her pictures before, she got older and started doing whatever she's doing, she looks like a little light skinned black girl. She's got a full white father, and of course, her mother is a black American, so she's not fully black. It's very hard to get rid of the black. Not that I want to.
She saved the monarchy.
yeah.
She put that one little drop in there, and that will produce better quality human beings.
But she also connected to real royalty in her genealogy. So like they know who they mixing with when they choose to mix because they do their background and research. They gotta reacclimate to back into the throne, and that's what makes me question like these slave names that they say we have. I'm starting to look at it like it's more like they came over here and married into a family, kind of like the Pocahontas story, and just had an urn that could hang on to the name and stay white. And then when they thought they was gonna breed out the black side, or the black side was just gonna die out, and they were gonna be able to just claim everything, but unfortunately, it's not happening like that.
Right? Yeah, that's
Black is undefeatable.
yep, 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 yep.
43 million deep.
Heat miser.
Go ahead, Heat Miser.
Hello. Yeah. This conversation is very very interesting. This
Okay.
pyramid. Yeah, is this pyramid from Europe or is this like um because in America the way it works is there is like it's the same pyramid just without the king at the top.
Right.
So so what it is it's like it's only three tiers instead of four. So it's the loyals, basically the lords, and then the military and the police department, and then the people that the police department and military force to work,
There you
and
go.
then
You
them brings
got
the
it. You
lords,
got it.
and then the lords get together in America. The way it works is they hire a king called a president. So this is great. This visual is really this is amazing.
I told you,
Um,
but let me blow your mind a little further. To know the end, you need to know the beginning. So if you click on that graphic and you look at the top, I think it says, let me see, because they're all kind of different. Okay, the lords, right? That
Yeah.
when America was the 13 colonies, like I was talking about earlier, do y'all know that the leadership class of the 13 colonies were lords? They
Yes.
were royalty. So America started out as kind of like a monarch in under monarchy structure, and they were all taking orders from who? The king. They were taking orders from England. Um, Alexander Hamilton was perfectly fine with that ideology. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not trying to say I'm fucking saying it, is the black American challenged that hierarchy structure. And through that challenge, the United States of America was created in diametric opposition to us. It was created because we was going there to the 13 colonies and fucking cutting off heads. They said,
Yeah.
join the snake. We need to unify to keep these black Americans from killing us.
Okay,
This
join or
country's
die.
interesting.
Ain't that what been
Yep.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. That's what I'm saying.
Now the question I guess I'm thinking about is okay, now that okay, so this is this pyramid, the three stages or whatever. That's for everybody in America, right? So okay, so here's the thing, it's like the black and white thing, how does that even keep go it's like it's almost like it's an illusion. It's almost like it's a fake way of keeping these white peasants, the white peasants, because that it's like the black and white system don't even the whole I don't even because the
No, no,
black and white
no. You're
system.
right. Heat miser, you're right. You're not being disrespectful. You're being factual. The people who are in the leadership class in America right now were white peasants. The white peasants, the deal that was made is, hey, peasants, come over here and we'll put you in nobility and serf positions. But in order for those white peasants to be nobles and serfs, guess what they needed? They needed a new peasant class. And guess who that became? Us.
Okay, okay,
But it
so
never worked because we have a different pedigree and we
Right.
just don't fit into being like that. Plus, I feel like there's a lot of reasons why we're not peasants mentally. Number one, I'm pretty sure we feel like our people paid their dues and they shouldn't be in a lower position. So that's one of the reasons. But I think there's a regalness about us, there's a certain kind of pride about us. And so I think there's a lot of reasons why we just don't fit into that positioning very well.
I mean, look at all the pictures throughout time of us. Like we look like royalty. Even every time you look at like them slavery narratives and like the Reconstruction narrative, like we always been fly and like carried ourselves with super upstanding dignity. So I of course we feel that way. That's we are the true embodiment of what an American is. We don't take no shit and we gonna stand on what we stand on.
okay,
Hmm.
so now that we have removed ourselves from the that paradigm, and now basically white affirmative action basically can't exist anymore. So I'm thinking, will this pyramid completely fall, or will it just be rearranged?
I miss that.
It
You broke up,
it
bro.
may fall if we don't do anything.
What I said is okay. Since we took ourselves out of the paradigm of the black and white paradigm, which was just there to give people basically like affirmative action, like okay, because you have this one
Right.
qualification, then you can go into this lower class. Okay, now that pipeline is gone, will this pyramid still exist,
It's
or will it
crumbling as
just
we speak.
No, it won't exist. If we don't hold it up, we are foundational. If the foundational if the if the foundation collapse, it all collapse.
so? What's next?
Well, okay,
That's
I was waiting on somebody to say that. So, let's find it. Okay, here it is. Chapter 9 of Dr. Howard Zinn's book is called Slavery Without Submission, Emancipation Without Freedom. Now, ladies and gentlemen, history does not repeat itself, but as Mark Twain said, that shit be rhyming. And I hate to give y'all the bad news, but I'm a licensed historian. I've been doing this a minute. and it do be rhyming. Let me tell you what rhyme we're in. We're in a rhyme around the 1800s when black Americans got start getting pissed off, just like we pissed off. And what started to happen? According to Dr. Howard Zinn, the United States government support of slavery was based on an overpowering practicality. In 1790, thousands of tons of cotton were being produced every year in the South. By 1860, it was a million tons. In the same period, 500,000 slaves grew to 4 million, a system harried by slave rebellions and conspiracies. Gabriel Prosser in 1800. So, what started to happen is we got sick of being slaves and working for free. And Gabriel Prosser staged a coup, like a counterattack on white Americans. But people snitched on him, so it never happened. But that word got around. Then Mark Vesey staged another coup. And again, a slave or two snitched on him, had him killed, and the rebellion never happened. But that started some type of movement. And by 1822, Nat Turner staged a coup that history says killed 55 white Americans. I think it killed many more. But that started a ball rolling, a momentum to where white Americans who do everything we do staged a rebellion, and a white man named John Brown staged a full scale rebellion. According to Dr. Howard Zinn, it would take either a full scale rebellion, slave rebellion, or a full scale war to end a deeply entrenched system. If rebellion might get out of hand and it's turned to ferocity beyond slavery, to the most successful system of capitalist enrichment in the world, if a war who's made the war would organize its consequences. Hence, it was Abraham Lincoln who freed the slaves, not John Brown. John Brown was hanged. Basically, John Brown, a white man, picked up the torch of Gabriel Prosser and Nat Turner, and he staged a rebellion against the system because slavery was not fair. John Brown had his sons die for us. What I'm trying to say is that little rebellion, that delineation, the foundational Black Americans delineated against slavery, and that started a movement that kept snowballing, snowballing, snowballing until it turned into the fucking Civil War, and we got our freedom. So, unfortunately, in my view of history, by us delineating, that might lead to conflict on some. I don't want conflict. I'm nonviolent, but I'm a historian. That's where it's going to lead. Last thing I'm going to say. Oh, go ahead.
I'm more optimistic than you
I
are.
tend to be pessimistic.
Yeah, like I respect that because education tends to uh breed pessimism, but I'm just optimistic in the sense like I because I look at what my ancestors went through and look at myself, I'm like, God damn, like they like the like I am their success. And if I go through the same kind of shit and my subsequent successors, I'm saying, hey, yeah, they'll be fine. Like, so I don't really fear the I don't fear the danger what the future may hold. I just don't because I look at what the danger my ancestors went through and what they fought to give me. So I will fight to give my to my children. So yeah, I don't fear that. I think we'll be good.
Yeah, yeah. As our brother Tariq Nasheed has said, I'm paraphrasing our dear brother. They've done everything to us. We've been through. What else you gonna do? So it's nothing to be afraid of. But I think that it's only a couple scenarios how this plays out. The way I would like for it to play out is that white Americans say, you know what? We don't want another civil conflict. Foundational Black Americans serve as a foundation, literally, of this Jenga we call United States of America, and they give us our reparations. Now, unfortunately, my view of history doesn't show any. What did doctors say? History is the best predictor of the future, right? I don't see that. So the only other alternative, as Stephen Marsh outlines in his book, The Next Civil War, is a civil conflict pop off. Now, there is a third option that I kind of think may happen. there could be another conflict that happens, another war to distract us from this brewing discontent. Last thing I want.
Truth,
Oh, go ahead.
truth be told, sir, they never saw a future where we would be liberated.
Right. Yeah, that's my concern right there. Now, Heat Miser brought up a good point, and wanted to know. Well, somebody brought up a point of like how did whites get in a position of leadership and they were peasants. Dr. Howard Zinn identifies it on page 177 of A People's History. Dr. Zinn says quote, the need for slave control led to an ingenious device, paying poor whites themselves so troublesome for 200 years of Southern history to be overseers of black labor and therefore buffers to black hatred. Zen says religion was used for control. I'm gonna leave that alone before I piss somebody off. But what that means basically is poor white peasants weren't given any money per se. No, let me be careful with that. They weren't given a lot of money per se, but what they were given is supervisory positions over us, and that kept them pacified. I.e., I'm poor. I'm living in a trailer park. I can't pay my bills, but at least I ain't no Negro. At least I'm not black. That sustained them for 200 years. But what's starting to happen with this delineation, and like Wani said, even before delineation, with our just sheer ingenuity and what's the word, regalness, we've never we really never fit into that peasant class, but now they're seeing it. It's in their face that we are not peasants. Actually, we're American royalty. So what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, from my read of history, is something is brewing and something needs to happen. The system is bottlenecking, and there's going to be like a pipe that has too much pressure. It's going to relieve itself somewhere. Where it's going to relieve itself, I don't know, but history tells me that we could be heading for another civil conflict. I don't
Professor,
want
may I
it.
say one thing?
Yes, sir. We'll give housing last words.
Let's take it back to, when we got freed back then, and black people, our people, went out, took care of the land. They started eating off the land. And a white boy across the street was watching. They was starving. So that's where the Klan got started at. Right there. Right there. That's where it got started. Because once we was free, we went out, we took care of the land, we started eating. Everything we touch turns to gold. I land my plane.
Yep, everything we touch turns to gold. And guess what? We stopped touching stuff. We stepped outside of that imaginary paradigm, and that gold is turning into shit.
That's because we incorporate a lot of their ideology and some of their mindsets. We got to break off from them.
We are doing that. We are. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look into the Jumbotron, you'll see Wani Spots and Nikki the Guy's Cash App. Show them love for their time, dedication, and scholarship. In addition, you'll see my Cash App, Our Story Publications. If you want a copy of my book where I talk about more of this at nauseum, you can put $25 on my Cash App. Remember to put your full address and name and zip code, and I'll mail you out a book. Now, a couple people bought a book last week and didn't put their address. So if you haven't received a book in the next week, check Cash App to see, did you, I don't want to say your name's on the space, but you didn't put an address. So put your address and I'll send it out to you ASAP. Um, I want to see what Mrs. got to say. Go ahead, Mrs. And then we'll close pretty soon.
Real quick. Speaking of Cash App, there's somebody named Michael J. Douglas. If you are in the space, you sent me a request to do something for you, and I don't know who you are on here because I can't talk on Cash App. So if you are Michael J. Douglas, can you send me a back channel and I'll check my message request? Thanks.
Yes, I'm gonna be quick because I know you want to close the space. So, doing ancestry, I found that a distant ancestor. Well, she's my eighth great grandmother, but she has a coat of arms attached to her name, and she definitely does look Native Indigenous. And doing research, the coat of arms, come from like different European countries and things like that. And it's two people on this app who I'm you could say friends with, and they're doing their lineage and they have royalty in their bloodline. two people, Black American.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
my thing is, I feel like America, Turtle Island, has always been a land of royalty, and Africa is doing what Africa is doing now by copying us. Because during my lineage, I found out that I have the Monacan tribe in my bloodline, and the Monacan tribe in Virginia built the mounds that's in Virginia.
Wow. Wow. Wonderful. Wonderful.
So what I'm trying to say is, I feel like America has always been what it is now, and other countries and people used to always come here and doing what they do or doing what they doing now. And I just feel like, I don't know, it's kind of like an epiphany. I just feel like Africa is not the birthplace of everything, and is not the only continent that had royalty on its lands. Because if that's the case, white American, well, I would say Europe would have been conquered and took over the whole entire continent the same way they're trying to do to here with the United States. I just feel like America definitely has a different type of royalty bloodline, and it even goes back to the Greeks, and that's something that Africa don't have outside of
The
Cleopatra.
Mrs. You're starting to awaken. If you look at that picture of the Georgia House of Representatives, look at how beautiful that building is. Those buildings are in every state. And like my student said, how did they build this beautiful, mathematically perfect building and they didn't have a computer? There are some scholars that say those buildings were kept when they destroyed the civilization that was priorly in the United States of America. Some people call it Cahokia, is what it was called before. There are some people that say these buildings were already there, but they kept them and rebranded them as Capitol buildings because the architecture is too perfect. You got granite cut out of one single piece of granite with like cut with a laser. How it was built, I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell me. BR and Seventh Ward, you'll be the last speaker. Go ahead, BR.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Allen. I've been following you for the last 3 months. You are such a wonderful man. And I'm from Africa, so I wanted to request you when it comes to our ancestors, because they were brutally murdered, some of them, when they were actually being captured from the west coast and the north coast of Africa. So I just want to find out if it's possible for you to write a book, about us, especially here in Africa. About maybe you can title your book about the footsteps, I mean, the
Why
footsteps
don't
of
you
our
go? Why
ancestors.
don't? Oh, hold on. Why do we need to do research about you? Why don't you guys do it? There's 1.3 billion Africans.
Yes, but you
Look,
know
Dude
why
coming in
am I
here and
saying this?
applying.
look,
Dude coming in here giving y'all tasks to do.
yeah, look up your stuff and you boost it up. Why are you telling us? We're busy doing
No,
our
I'm
thing.
not. I'm so sorry if I'm
You're
offending you.
leeching.
I'm
You
so
are
sorry if
leeching.
I'm being offensive. I'm so sorry if I'm being.
You're being a parasite.
Well, one, well,
And yes, that is
well,
offensive.
Wani, that goes back to what we were saying earlier. And BR, I don't mean any harm by this. I'm just telling some facts. I spent some time in West Africa doing research, and what I first thing I found in Ghana and Togo is the libraries were full of our books. So I don't know everything, but I don't think that a lot of places in Africa have an accurate knowledge of their history. If you look at most of the books written on African history is written by Black Americans, but that goes back to the theory. I mean, the thesis that one of you put in the that one of y'all spoke into the ether some time ago is that Black Americans are excellent. We're magical with what we do. Look, this gentleman coming from the continent asking us to do research on his history, that goes to show how excellent and thorough we are in
Why
everything
would
that we
we
do.
know more about it than they do
No,
if they're
because here they're
sitting
very
right there?
lazy. They're very lazy in doing research. I'm telling you that I
Okay,
can tell
hold
you.
on, hold on, hold
That
on. What country are you trying to get us to research? I missed that part.
like Zanzibar, because I always hear about.
Zanzibar? But that doesn't. You know what?
Let's help the brother. Don't ridicule him. Let's help him.
I like ridiculing though.
But why? But why should we
No,
help
but
him?
you are ridiculing me. I
Why?
just want to learn. I just want to learn
Is it
exactly
fun?
because
Do you like it?
you learn from the birth till you die. So I'm learning a lot, It's not something I'm coming here and that somebody
Okay,
must read it
so
to me. I'm
Zanzibar.
just here to
Y'all
educate
really,
myself
okay,
to
hold
know
on.
a lot of things what's happening, you know.
Just relax. Zanzibar has a long history of slavery too. Tipu Tip. You know the guy?
But don't put that on the
You
brother.
know Tipu Tip? He was tipping around selling people. Remember?
For some tips.
He got tips.
I will take this moment to just kind of drop a little bomb that we've been keeping under wraps, and we'll have a release. Me and our scholar, our dear sister Wani Spots, wrote a really brilliant piece of literature. Wrote a new book. It's published and it's going to be released pretty soon, and we'll keep y'all informed. But it has a lot of things y'all asked in this room. It identifies. So just stand by. Ladies and gentlemen, I've enjoyed y'all. We will continue this next time with another topic. I learned a lot. I feel like y'all learned a lot. Stay tuned and make sure you stay tuned for the next podcast we have coming up. I love
And
y'all and I enjoyed y'all.
no one ever said that delineation had to be pretty and comfortable. It's not what everybody. It's not about making everybody feel comfortable and welcome all the time. It is what it is.
But the truth, that's true, true, Nikki. But the truth, think of it like a doctor. If you're sick, do you want the doctor to say, "Yeah, man, you got a cold. You'll be all right. Just eat a lemon and go for a run. You'll be just fine." Or do you want the doctor to say, "Man, you need to handle this shit or you're gonna die"? That's where we are right now. We're telling you the truth, and the truth may be painful, but in the end, you can grow from the truth. You see where lies gets us. Lies gets us in this bullshit Jenga game we're in. And you know who caused that Jenga game? Christophe Colon, also known as Christopher Columbus, with his goddamn lies. There never was any gold. I take that back. There was gold. The gold was called Foundational Black Americans. Wani, did you have any last comments?
Good night.
All right, Nikki, any last comments?
Good night. Love all of you.
All right, guys, I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
All right, Professor.
All right, man. Bye bye.